welcome. Thanks for coming and getting this message out to your communities. It's really important what you're doing. We know there's a lot of concern out there still, and we're continuing to make progress every day. There's not been any decrease in operations across the board at the tank farm, on the water, and the air monitoring in the communities. Continues every day. The tank farm is much more secure today than it was yesterday, and that was more secure than the day before that. It's dynamic, so the situation changes. We resolve the issues and we keep moving forward. So it's been very productive on the tank farm. On the water operations, we continue to move forward. We have over 130 watercrafts on the water doing product recovery operations. That's from the big barges down to the skimmers. That includes vac trucks pulling from the drainage pathway to the Houston Ship Channel. So far, we have, in the last 24 hours, over 120,000 feet of boom along the impacted shorelines, protecting the sensitive wildlife areas. We have 4,100 feet of ocean boom. That's the big, tall, 67-inch containment boom. Most of that is used right there along Tucker's Bayou to keep the bulk of the product in Tucker's Bayou and from getting out into the ship channel. We still do have some pockets of oil in the ship channel, and we're recovering those, but the bulk of it is in the Tucker's Bayou area. We continue to do air monitoring, EPA, TCEQ, Harris County, ITC. The Aspect aircraft, the EPA Aspect aircraft, has been flying and getting no readings, no measurements. We have the Taga bus that continuously monitors the air in the downwind area. And then we also have the ground units, the ground teams that are going out at many different locations downwind and conducting air monitoring. As the wind shifted over the weekend, so early on Saturday, it's coming out of the southeast, and then over the course of the day, it shifted around and it's coming out of the north. So as soon as we saw the forecast, we got resources to the south in the Deer Park area. So when the shift comes, we're watching the air quality coming down south towards Deer Park. When that shift happened, we got our resources over there, and we did get one reading in the community. It was 1.275 parts per million. It was not sustained. It was confirmed by multiple agencies that were working together on that ground unit. The Taga bus did get a benzene hit of 1.1 on the 225 and east. And so the monitoring units we have on the ground, they get measurements, and we could see it coming across, and we're watching it. And so if we get something that's sustained, that's above 1 part per million, we notify the local governments to shelter in place or evacuate, whichever is most appropriate and protective of the community. Our job every day is to protect the public and the environment. Wildlife, the only new animals that have been impacted or potentially impacted, we have a total of 10 birds now that were rescued from the impacted area. One of them was a tern that we observed and rescued, I believe it was Saturday. And then the other 9 are much smaller birds. None of them are endangered species, so that's really good. There's been no new fish or no new reptiles observed and impacted in the impacted areas. And the dolphins that came up the other day, I believe it was Friday or Saturday, there's 2 dolphins that I mentioned. Both of those were observed and evaluated by the Marine Mammal Stranding Network. They evaluated the dolphins. One of them was deceased and the other one was stranded. My terminology the other day was not the best when I said he was kind of sick. He was actually stranded. The Marine Mammal Stranding Network assessed the situation and determined that it did not appear that those dolphins were impacted from this incident. They are monitoring a dolphin pod that's well south of Morgan's Point. So we're watching those dolphins, they are watching those dolphins to determine if there's a potential impact. They'll see it very quickly and they'll let us know. That's all I have. I want to continue to thank our team, U.S. Coast Guard, Harris County, TCEQ, ITC, the communication, and the teamwork that we're all taking to secure this incident, clean it up, and protect the community and the environment. Thank you.
Yeah, give us 30 seconds. I'll hook up a microphone. Yes, sir.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm Captain Rich House from the U.S. Coast Guard office here in Houston. I'll be covering some of the on-water recovery efforts on the Houston Ship Channel in support of the EPA's Federal On-Scene Coordinator. We continue to conduct daytime movement only on the Houston Ship Channel for vessels in and out of the affected area. Yesterday, we were able to move 22 deep draft or piloted vessels in and out of the affected area, as well as 86 towing vessels. Those vessels represent about 40 to 50% of what we normally would see if we didn't have restrictions in place. Out of those vessels that moved through the area, 3 did need very minor cleaning that was addressed by our pre-stage decontamination teams. Again, all vessels that transit through an affected area or known affected area will be visually inspected and cleaned if necessary. We understand the impact to the commerce and especially industry to these restrictions. And while we're making headway in cleaning up some of the affected areas on the ship channel, I still don't have a firm timeline for you when the Houston Ship Channel will be open. But we will do so, open to all traffic without restrictions, but we'll do so as soon as we can. To date, we've recovered about 64,000 barrels of oily water mixture on the water. That equates to about 2.5 million gallons, as well as what was mentioned, over 100,000 feet of boom to ensure sensitive areas are protected, bayous, oyster beds, and that sort of thing. Moving forward, I should mention yesterday one of the significant achievements we were able to do is using those north winds that were mentioned, pushed in some of the product at the ICC dock. And what we were able to do is we were able to move that product closer to the ends of the pier, or the beginning face of the pier, and bring in a 57,000 barrel capacity barge. What this is going to allow us to do is have quicker turnaround on those vessels that are skimming and those vac trucks that are picking up contaminated product. We'll be able to put right into the barge right there. So our on-water priorities continue to ensure the safety of all personnel, continue to protect environment and sensitive areas, and we're going to lean into some of those more heavily impacted areas such as Tucker's Bayou, Carpenter's Bayou, parts of Old River, and as well as Jacinto Port. So to conclude, just want to say appreciate all the support from the Unified Command as we move forward in the operations. Thank you, and I'm turning this over to the Incident Commander. Mike.
Good morning. I'm Brent Weber of ITC and Incident Command. On Saturday evening, we turned to more of a sustain and control mode. We encountered some pumping issues in our tank farm containment area, which allowed the liquid level to start increasing, which corresponded to elevated benzene and VOC levels in our immediate area and impacted some of our industrial neighbors. So that's been our focus the last 24 hours, is to pump the tank farm back down and get the benzene numbers and the VOC numbers back to normal levels. We have secured the tank farm. The level in the tank farm is basically dry now with a very light layer of foam on the tank farm. And as a result, we've seen the benzene numbers trending down for the last several hours. We understand, the concern of our industrial neighbors and our community. So our focus is to basically control those benzene fumes and benzene emissions, and that's what we're focused on right now. So during that time, we had to suspend product removal activities so we could maintain our focus on the tank farm containment area and emissions associated with that area. Now that we are in a sustain mode and things are back and secure, we'll start resuming product removal from the tanks. We have crews that are going to enter the tank farm area today to begin a little further remediation on the residual product in the tank farm, and even some of the secured tanks that have residual product. We're focused on getting all the product out of that tank, including the water and the foam mixtures. So that'll be the focus today. We still have tanks 80-5, 80-6, and 80-8 targeted for product removal, but controlling the tank farm area and the residual product removal are the focus right now to do a better job of minimizing the impact on our industrial neighbors and the communities around our area. Thank you.
Questions? Start here.
Mr. Weber, which agencies are on site to investigate the fire, and have they been able to get up to the tank farm and the site and where the fire started?
So all the investigations are ongoing at this time, and I'll defer any questions about the investigations to the agencies. I'll just tell you that there are multiple agencies involved.
Are they up in the tank farm? Have they been able to get up in the tank farm to the site of the fire? Or?
They have been on the site, but they're focused mainly, they're staying out of the hot zone right now, out of the impacted area.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I don't know who might be able to answer this, but all the oily water that's being collected in the waterways, where is it going, and how do you guys look at that?
So all of the oily water from both the waterways and the tank farm containment area are being collected and stored in other tanks in other parts of the terminal. So one of our big efforts yesterday was to go ahead and free up additional tanks so that we continue our remediation efforts in very efficient methods.
I believe this is for Andy, who talked about it. These levels that y'all detected this morning, the benzene and the other one, which I'm sorry, I didn't mention, 1.275. Was that anything for a shelter in place for anybody this morning?
So that's for Adderall.
So I believe the question was some details about the 1.1 part per million detection measurement and the 1.275 measurement that we measured over the weekend. That was yesterday, and that was one was on 225 and east, and the other one was south of 225 in the community. Both were just instantaneous, not sustained at all. But we did go ahead and let the local government know we got these. We actually let them know before that when we started seeing the movement come across with the low level detections. And so we're in continuous communication with Deer Park to let them know if it was going to get worse or not. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Samantha.
Could you clarify about what's going on in the containment area? You said it's mostly dry, and then also how many tanks are left to be?
So the tank number is still the same. 9 tanks are secured, which leaves 3 more tanks to secure, because 2 of the tanks were originally empty. Inside the tank farm, as you can imagine, it's very uneven surfaces, so it does have the tendency to pocket the material. Even when you pump it dry, you can still have pockets of material. So the focus right now is to get in to the tank farm to remove those product pockets, and then also any residual product that could have been left in the tanks. You know, we tell you the tank's secure. There's still a chance for residual product in the tanks. It's covered with water and foam. So we're going to start working on removing that residual product as well.
What are we doing to protect wildlife? I mean, I know you mentioned that those dolphins were not impacted or apparently not be impacted by this, but what are we doing to make sure that none of the wildlife are in danger?
So we have SCAT teams and RAT teams that are out assessing the shorelines, and they're watching for those kinds of impacted animals. We also have the recovery operations that are watching for those animals, and then we report that back to the incident command and get that information to the wildlife. We have wildlife response group as well as Texas Parks and Wildlife that are out in the response looking for those potentially impacted animals to determine if it's impacted or not.
You were talking about the dolphin pod earlier.
Yes, sir.
Exactly where it was, how many dolphins it was talking about?
I don't have details on how many dolphins are in that particular dolphin pod. The Marine Mammal Stranding Network they're the specialists on that, so they're watching those mammals and watching the dolphins to determine if there's an impact to them. They'll see it. They're familiar with those particular dolphins, and so they'll be able to tell if their actions change or anything like that, and kind of let us know.
And that hit south of 2025. Can you tell us exactly where that was? You said community, but can you know exactly where it was? And how long was it before? How long did it?
I mean, it was just instantaneous. It wasn't even, a minute worth of measurement. It was just a little blip, and the team that got the blip, it has TCEQ, EPA, ITC. They're all a team working together, and so they've got their air monitoring equipment out. They got the blip. All three of them got the blip, and then it was gone just like that fast. I don't remember the exact location. It was somewhere around. I'm not going to pronounce this right. It's like Zavalia or something street, but it was in the community and it wasn't sustained at all. It was less than the time that I've been answering your question.
Can you tell us about local businesses?
Hey, hang on a second, Lisa, let me make sure there's other questions. So I get here and I'll come back over to you.
Yeah.
Let me grab this one right here first.
There was an accident overnight involving a barge, people that were working on a barge. Was that tied at all to the ITC cleanup that's underway right now?
I haven't heard about an accident on a barge. I did know that there was a death of a crew member that was on the San Jacinto fleet. I did hear about that tragedy earlier this morning, but that had nothing to do with the response or being in an area that was impacted.
And the eating of the fish that's in the ship channel, is that still in place? And any idea how much longer that'll last?
That advisory from the Texas Department of Health State Services was initiated in 2013 before the incident. It was updated last week as a kind of just an update. Hey, be mindful that there could be VOCs related to the incident. But I imagine that advisory would stay in place until Department of State Health Services wants to pull it down.
Yeah, what are the contents of the 3 tanks you're securing today? And then kind of explain again the 3 tanks you just mentioned, why they don't need to be secured, or why they're already secured.
So 2 tanks I told you they were empty before the fire started, so they never contained product. That's why that was 2 tanks. The 3 tanks left to secure are gas blend stock and naphtha tanks.
And then that makes 1 more if there's 15 altogether. You said 9 are secured.
9 are secure. You want me to just go? Oh, the base oil tanks, I'm sorry, I didn't count those. So those are non-air emission tanks. So those are lower priority to get out of the tank farm just because of the limited risk and hazards with those materials.
And the dike wall, have you been able to repair it at all yet, or what's the status?
So the dike wall is temporarily repaired. We basically built a dam to secure the wall. Once the tanks are secure, we'll have to go in and make a permanent repair to the dike wall.
How many vessels are remaining staged to access the ship channel?
If you're talking about vessels at anchors, sir?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's about, I checked this morning, it was about 100 vessels still out at anchor. It doesn't mean all those vessels already have orders, but we do expect, I believe the latest count was about 57 vessels waiting to come inbound. And like I said, we got 22 through yesterday. We're hoping for the same success today.
Are those that's needing to go outbound as well? Or
Yeah, I believe there was 11 that was current in the outbound queue that were waiting for orders to get out. Yes.
Let me grab a question over here, then I'm gonna get one in the back. Let's grab it first.
Mr. Weber, any idea when the agencies will be able to get into the hot zone? I mean, is there a timeline for that, or later this week, next week? I mean,
No specific timeline. Obviously, we have to get the tank farm completely secure from a product removal and from air monitoring data. Hopefully days, not weeks, but can't give you an exact timeline.
Yes, you mentioned minutes ago that the investigation is still going on. That do you know up to now the causes that provoked this fire?
I cannot comment on an active investigation at this time.
you heard reports that today was the first day the fire marshal was able to inspect the scene. Are those reports accurate?
So the fire marshal under Harris County, that investigation has been ongoing. It continues to be ongoing, and I'll have to defer to Harris County for further questions.
Other questions?
Do you know how many people have filed claims, businesses, individuals?
So to the ITC CARES claims line, there's been approximately 3,000 call inquiries and about 800 claims submitted.
questions? All right.
I got one.
Okay, one more.
Local businesses, can you tell us about local businesses still being affected? Earlier today, there was a McDonald's and a truck stop that closed for a couple hours. What can you tell us about local businesses?
I can just say that we understand the impact we're making to our businesses in the community. There's a lot of businesses that have been in Deer Park area for a long time, and we apologize for the impact. Our focus is just to resolve this issue and get this recovery and remediation effort completed as safely and as quickly as we possibly can.
All right, thank you very much.